Have you ever wanted to make some changes to your garden that make it a little more functional, like automatic drip irrigation, or making it easier to mow around, or somehow helping a privacy problem with your neighbor? Those are exactly the 3 things I was trying to solve when I made a garden update recently. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how I added drip irrigation to my raised beds, how I added decorative edging to the raised bed, and how I added a brand new garden tower. I had 3 raised beds right here that were separated by a little bit of grass, and I had planters there, and it became such a pain to mow around because I had to remove the lights every time I mowed, and then we had to move the planters and get the edger in there, and it was just becoming a nightmare. I also wanted to move the entire thing down closer to the fence a little bit so I could add some more privacy shrubs closer to my house. Now, the first step to doing all of that was a very unfun step, which was reconfiguring 3 of my raised beds. I did that by removing the soil first, then removing the end parts of the raised beds, condensing them down into one, leveling the grass right where I was going to set the raised beds so that they would follow the slope of the ground, and then putting all of that soil right back in those raised beds. Now, as I did that, I also removed the self-watering wicking cells that I used to have at the bottom of my raised bed. If you've been following the channel for a while, you might remember my video where I reviewed the Vigo Garden raised beds, and I talked about how I think the self-watering wicking cells were causing rust on the raised bed. And also, to be honest, I wasn't very good about filling them up. I would frequently forget to do it, and then my plants would suffer. So I really wanted to install a drip irrigation system. Here's the layout for my drip irrigation system. Right here is my head assembly. You can see this is a PVC and male hose thread adapter. This right here is the backflow preventer. This is the 25 psi pressure regulator, and this is the adapter that goes from a female hose thread to 1/2-inch poly tubing. That 1/2-inch poly tubing runs the entire length of my raised bed on the back side and is secured by stabilizer stakes. Now, all along the raised bed, you can see how I have connected the emitter line using a barbed connector, 6-inch spacing emitter line to a goof plug with a 1/4-inch stabilizer stake. I've done this probably spaced every 6 to 8 inches all down the raised bed. I also want to point out that this emitter line is capable of still working if buried. So I could cover them up with mulch to protect them from the UV light if I wanted to, or just to make it more discreet, and it would still operate normally. Now, the raised beds used to start right here, but I wanted to push them that way, closer to the end of my fence, so that I could add a little bit more length to my privacy wall that I'm creating with podocarpus. So I added 5 new podocarpus shrubs right here. And then I added some nice edging. It wasn't very difficult to install. All I did was remove the grass and place the stones. I didn't even bother with any leveling sand this time. And then I put some stepping stones in there as well and covered the entire thing up with mulch. This is a garden tower too, and it needs to be placed on a level surface. I took great care in trying to make this 24-inch paver stone level on the ground before installing the garden tower. Let's get into the installation. I'll start with the first piece of the center vermicompost column, and then I'll add the first ring piece. Moving on to the second piece of the vermicompost column. Oh, it snaps. Now I'm going to add soil and fertilizer to the first layer. This process of adding a vermicompost column piece, then a ring, and then adding soil and fertilizer is going to repeat all the way up the tower. While we're at it, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more garden tower content. Now, when you're adding this much soil, it's a good idea to water as you go to make sure the water reaches all the soil properly. Then we'll add the last piece of the vermicompost column, which does not have holes in it like the rest of the pieces. After the last ring, the last bit of soil, and the last fertilizer application, it's time to finish up the drip layout. I'll leave a little slack at the top to allow the tower to spin, and then I'll cut the emitter line and add a 1/4 inch barbed connector. This is where I installed the pressure regulator, the hose thread to polytubing adapter, the 1/2 inch main line, and the 1/2 inch end cap. I punched a hole in the 1/2 inch main line to tee off the 1/4 inch distribution line using a 1/4 inch barbed connector. Then I transplanted all of my starts. And that, my friends, is how I upgraded my garden this summer. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. Let me give you a hug. You're my favorite. That was weird, wasn't it?